Hello, and welcome to the Here to Uplift Podcast, where we center the stories of impactful changemakers, entrepreneurs, and community leaders who have done the hard work of uplifting themselves through adversity to get where they are today, and now uplift others along the way in their journeys. I'm Lolo Fisher, your host, lover of all things wellness, healing, and empowerment, and I would greatly appreciate if you show us your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing this podcast with others. Let's get into it. All right, welcome y'all to the Here to Uplift Podcast. I am here with my special guest, Joanne Castillo, and we're going to talk about a lot of things, but including the journey into business and entrepreneurship, her role as a personal trainer, and what it looks like for potentially opening a future gym, all the things. But as y'all know, what we're really about here is the journey itself. So Joanne, can you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us who you are at your core.
All right. I'm Joanne Castillo. I am from Sunnyvale, so born and raised. I am the owner of Infalible Fit. And Infallible Fit is a personal training and at-home personal training service.
Okay.
Yeah, I help busy professionals who don't feel confident in their body and want to improve their health, but just struggling to get the results that they're trying to achieve. Yeah. A lot of people who come to me, they either tried many different programs in the past. They don't have the support. They don't know how to get the most effective results, and or they're busy and limited on time.
That's too real.
Yeah.
But even when you're in the fitness industry, it's like so hard to make time for yourself once you start like helping others with it.
It is. Yep.
Okay, but you said you're from Sunnyvale?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like home still, home area for you.
Yeah.
Where do you actually practice at? You said at home, so is it like throughout the Bay Area? You go to people?
It's, the gym is in Palo Alto, but at home it's around that area. So like there, Portola Valley, Menlo Park, I stay within that radius.
So do you go to people's homes
I do.
too?
I do.
Oh,
yeah.
What is the dynamic between, going and doing it in the gym versus at home?
At home, I'll say it's more personal, more private, very private. And it's just more for the client. They're able to be in the privacy of their own home instead of, some people are very intimidated by the gym, and it just gives them that opportunity to just let go and be themselves, and then be receptive to the training so that it can change their life.
Yeah. Ooh, change their life.
Yeah.
It's like the big stuff right away.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for this because context-wise, Joanne and I met through my partner, Anthony, and you were doing physical training at the time, but y'all were friends now years going back, right?
Yeah, before COVID.
And had years of disconnection, not necessarily like talking, and reconnected when we moved back out here to the Bay Area. And I'm like so happy because he was telling me like, you're going to love Joanne. She just has the kindest soul. And y'all can both talk about fitness and like get all of the jam. So the moment I met Joanne, like really your energy is amazing. Like,
thank you.
Sometimes it's hard to be around folks if you just don't know if that energy is right, and people can be nice and it's just still not that great energy. It was just like instantly, like I can feel the love in your body and like how you like share it in a room, the way you interact with others, the way you like welcomed me instantly when we met. So like know that I see that, I recognize that, and I'm sure your clients do too, without a doubt.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I try to spread the love.
Yes. Which kind of takes me to the question of like, where did it come from?
I think, I think I grew up with it, like love with how like my mom and like my family is. But I think a lot of it recently also came from because I've experienced negative parts of my life and conquered that, and now I'm on the other side where I'm healing. Parts of me are healed and I'm still healing, and I'm starting to live my life. And I think, that's where, the energy, being myself, staying true to myself, loving myself, it's all.
So am I understanding that there were periods of life where you didn't feel like you could be yourself?
I hated myself.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, you gotta tell me more. Because I've been through those, I've been through similar phases where it's like, no matter what anybody else can say and how people see you, just internally it was a fight and a
Yes.
battle. So like, what was that for you, and maybe timelines? Like, what does that transition look like to being confident in yourself now? If you feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, it did start at a young age. You know, I say all this, and I love my family. You know, they weren't entirely emotionally available.
Right.
So it was like me raising myself, not having the support I needed when I was young.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, you build a lot of resentment. You feel abandoned.
Yeah.
Abandoned was my main thing. And because of that, I had so much resentment, especially growing as I got older, teenager.
Right.
And then that's when I started to get into a lot of trouble. You know, I started to drown out the emotions with a lot of drugs and alcohol. And then from there, I joined the Air Force.
Okay.
Because I wanted to change my life.
Was that out of high school time
It was
or later?
a couple years after. I was 20 when I joined.
Yeah. Still young.
Yeah. And most of my life, most of my adult life was in the Air Force. But joining the Air Force helped me gain discipline, structure. You know, as years went by, of course, maturing and coming into my own person.
Yeah.
It was actually my weight loss transformation that got me to really dig deep and really like start healing and peel those layers away.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, so weight loss transformation. What time was this? Was this still around that 20 years old in your 20s?
No,
or
2016.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I also struggled with my weight my entire life.
Okay.
I struggled with my entire life, yo-yo dieted, really thought that's who I was, that was never going to change. And
because we identify with it. And if
Right?
you can't change the identity and mindset,
yeah,
nothing's physically going to change.
If that's in your mind, that's what it's going to be. That's the
Yes.
energy you're going to project.
Yes.
You know, and even if you start to change a little bit, it's like a thermostat.
Yeah.
You put it at that thermostat, you change, you bring it down, but it's going to go back, right?
It's, oh my gosh, I've been like working on that, and we'll jump back because I know this is a tangent, but I've really been struggling with that and just with my own body and identity and the changes as I get older, as I fluctuate. And now that I'm pregnant, I'm like, really like, what's happening to my body? What's going on? And like knowing that things are natural, but in my mind, I'm identifying with parts of me that are insecure, parts of me that I thought I had let go of way back when, you know, in the dance industry, being so like, because I had an eating disorder, I had body image issues, and always being told, even straightforward, that I was too thick, too heavy, not thin enough for dance professionally, essentially.
You have to be a certain image, right?
Yeah, and I thought I let go of it, and then it's like things come right back up with like the smallest triggers, and I realized it's because it was an identity belief that was like deeply ingrained. It wasn't just a workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of still in there talking to you, right?
So hard. It's hard to let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but please.
No, I love to hear your story.
Please continue.
Yeah. What was
But
that?
changing that belief for you and your weight loss transformation.
So the weight loss transformation, as I mentioned, it gave me the confidence to start peeling those layers away as far as like my self-development growth. It gave me the confidence to face those traumas and that healing. I mean, it did take time, it takes a lot of work. I'm still in the process.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What does the daily process of that look like? Because you say you're still in the process and still healing. What do you do for yourself to help you stay in that positive mindset?
I start my mornings off journaling. So I have my social media, like my Instagram, set up to where I follow a lot of motivational pages.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, I wake up and I look at those motivational pages, I journal, I say my affirmations. One thing that I do, I always do it, I created a habit where every time I brush my teeth, I say my affirmations because I'm looking at myself in the eye. And it took time. Before, I couldn't even look at myself.
Say it?
In my head, and then sometimes I'll stop, I'll look and I'm like, I'm like saying all that stuff. Yeah. And it actually helped. When I first started, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't. I was like ashamed to look at myself in the mirror.
So deeply rooted.
Crazy, right? Yeah. And then the more I did it, the more I learned more about myself, and the more I stepped into created my identity and stepped into my authentic self, now I stare at myself in the mirror. So in the morning, it starts my day. At night, helps me wind down, especially like if I had a long day, it helped me calm down a bit. Yeah.
When you get off routine or maybe have a harder day where it's not so easy to look at yourself, how do you respond to those days? Because I feel like we all have those like down moments where you're like, I was on a roll and then I'm a little off track today. Like, what does that look like to bring yourself back?
I sit alone and I look at what it was, how it affected me, my patterns. Why did I react that way, or why do I feel this way? And I just honestly, I like dissect it. I dissect it and then I'll journal it. Or I'll speak into my little voice memo.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions going through my mind right now that I did not expect in this podcast. I'm like, we're going to be talking about fitness and business. And I'm like, oh, this deep healing. It always comes out somehow. Like, that's literally the point of the podcast, is the healing process that we go through like along this journey. And you know what? It's making me wonder about the relationship between weight and trauma. Or even just how we treat our bodies, maybe is a better way to say it. Like how we treat our bodies and trauma or childhood things that we're holding on to. Because I know mine definitely have a relationship, some kind of correlation. Have you seen that in your own experience, or especially because you work with clients individually, like have you seen that as a relationship for other people too? Trauma and
their weight,
body treatment?
I do see in a way as like emotional eating. I see that with emotional eating. I see. Alcohol, and I see it in a way where like clients, and I wouldn't want to just say clients. I feel like it's just a lot of people who are dealing with trauma, just neglecting themselves. Their self-care, That's a lot. That's what I see. If you were to give someone who might be just starting on their weight loss journey a few like tips or some advice on like how to get started, when in particular it seems like that journey ahead is so trying or like maybe near impossible, intimidating. Like, where do you start? I would say first, you definitely want to start with something that you like to do. If you're brand new, I do recommend having a trainer, and it's just like looking for a doctor or the right dentist. You want to find that trainer that you feel safe with. Because training, a lot of people do look at it, the physical aspect, but it's more than that. You know what I mean?
It is.
It's like vulnerability, being vulnerable. And for like long-lasting results, you want to find someone that you can be vulnerable with, open with, who understands you, empathizes.
Right.
And I feel like that will help a lot of people who, and especially been through their own journey.
Right.
And help them get started that way.
Is that why you started personal training?
I did. It's because of my transformation.
Okay.
Because my transformation, it didn't just help me physically, it helped me mentally. It helped me build a stronger, healthier mindset, have a sense of self-worth. And I truly believe that fitness is a vehicle to improve other aspects of your life. And that's why I went into business, so I can help people in that way and guide them to have their own transformation. Because it's like this journey I went through.
Right. So are you still in the Air Force, or?
No, I'm out now.
Finished and then started personal training.
After. So I got out 2017. Okay. And I like immediately went into
around
business.
The same time as the transformation then?
Yeah.
Okay, because you said 2016, right? Okay.
Yep. Okay. In a year I lost 50 pounds.
Oh, in 1 year?
Yeah.
Wow. And I know not everybody can tell, but you're on the shorter side too. So that's a big deal.
That's a big deal. I was maintaining between 163 and 172. So but you're right. I'm short.
It's okay. It's funny because I always wanted to be short.
For real?
Always. And then all of my friends that I had that were shorter were like, we want to be taller. It's like, okay, one of these days we'll figure it out. But eventually you grow into your body, you're like, this is who I am. But there's power in this. But it takes a while. High school's brutal, all right?
Yes.
High school school is brutal.
High school, they're mean.
Kids are mean, okay?
Yes, they are
Kids
mean.
It's so random, but I still remember when I started shaving my armpits, was literally not something even in my mind, but because some little boys at school were making fun of me. And when I would like reach for something in the lunch line, they would point out my hairy armpits. And I was a child in elementary school.
Aww.
And I was like, I always wonder now, like, if they didn't say anything, would I even care? Like, because half the time I still don't care, but you know how to grow out of that. Now I'm like, it is what it is, all right? Sometimes they're shaved, sometimes they're not.
You're like,
hair is natural.
Yeah.
Like, we'll see.
Hey, it's me.
Yeah.
Yep.
But obviously that's absolutely tangent, but when we're thinking of that impact, like, and how it carries us through, it's also what leads us into some of our greatest moments, but only when we can like really find that healing and push through and make meaning of it. So I definitely feel like there's a pattern of the folks who have some of the most loving, welcoming, inclusive energy. It's usually because we didn't feel loved or included at some point in our lives. And a lot of times it is that inner child talking, but adults too can be messy and mean. So now shifting to, the business world and thinking about that, I'm curious because the military is a business in itself, right? There's, like you said, there's a lot of discipline involved in it. And while I haven't been involved in the military myself, family members and a lot of friends who have been in Air Force actually specifically, so I don't have familiarity with all the branches, but there's a lot of power behind that and things that you can learn from how it runs as a business. So I'm curious, like, what things did you see in terms of how the military operated that you take with you now in life and business?
The way how systems. Like the way how things are systematic. And I finally got out of my hard head and like, okay, systems will is what's going to keep it running. So that the systems, like I mentioned, the discipline helps me, like, as far as like, especially like when I'm not tired and say I don't feel like programming for my clients or anything, even if you don't feel like doing it, you got to do it. So that, and then having structure.
How do you break through? Okay, like there's multiple things here, but starting with the discipline piece of doing things even when you don't feel like it, what got you to be in that place? Like, what did the military do, or what do you do now that helps you to stay disciplined when you don't feel like it?
Looking at the end goal, knowing that things aren't linear, and then you're gonna have your fallbacks and then going. But I always look at having that end goal and what I want to achieve, even whether it's for me or for my clients. And if I don't do it, it's not gonna happen. True. Okay.
Then on the systems piece, what kind of systems do you use in your business right now as an entrepreneur?
So system, as far as like, it's more of just like automating things, keeping it automated, making sure that I'm improving it each time, making it more time efficient, cost efficient.
But like what? Give me the details.
Oh, the details.
I was like, give me the details.
So like some systems, like as far as like, I'll say my onboarding process.
Okay.
So like my onboarding process, I have it to where they'll book in Calendly. An intake form is shot out to them. And then I even have certain questions where I can kind of weed out to see which clients would be, would mesh with me. We would mesh with each other, or I can refer him out.
Gotcha.
So after that, then we'll have like our Zoom call. Then we go through their consultation form. And then after that, I have a contract that's shot out to them. And then they have a portal where they have all their paperwork. It stays in there. And then we start our sessions from there.
Gotcha.
And then, so it just keeps it, I don't miss a step. I make sure I gather all the information, get their baseline during the assessment. And then we go from there. We progress and we just keep going from there.
How long did it take you to start building these systems? Like, did you have it right away?
No.
Okay, that's what I'm always curious about, because I tried, but I did not realize how much automation would have helped me when I started my business.
Like honestly, the process I just described to you, I just recently put that together, probably like last December.
And how long have you been doing this?
I'm in my 5th year.
5th year, okay.
Yeah.
So that's the 2017 date you gave, right?
2018.
Around that time, 2018.
So I got out 2017, and then I started in 2018.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
And then so now I've been doing it 5 years.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah,
that's
you.
a big feat.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, so what have you learned over these 5 years about running a business?
Oh my gosh.
Number one.
Yeah.
Like, let me start.
I'll say my most recent is letting go and knowing you need a team. Not trying to do all the work yourself, you know, because you get in that thing where no one can do it like you. Yes. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have to learn. I mean, entrepreneurs, right? We love learning. Yeah. So it's like if there's something I see, like someone introduces something to me, or if I see it online, I want to learn about it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know I cannot dedicate all my time into being an expert in every little thing.
Right.
So that is like the biggest lesson, and I'm so happy I'm finally like outsourcing and the automation.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what does that look like for you? What kind of things are you outsourcing?
So I work with a marketing agency, Honey and Hive, and they help me with like ads, sales, assets. We just started working together, I believe, the beginning of the year, like February. Yeah. And it's been really good. Like I don't have to worry about doing that piece. Yeah. I have a content writer. Okay. And she does all the content for me. She was doing the social media content, but now she's like starting to do my newsletters and my blogs. Nice. And then I just recently hired an accountant who also do the bookkeeping services for me, because I was doing it all. Yes. The best. Yes. Yeah.
Shout out to Anna. He's like, wouldn't have survived this last year without you.
Yeah. So, right. As of now, those are the things that I've outsourced, and it's helped tremendously.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes to outsourcing. Yes. But also just to saying yes to help. That's like the hardest part.
You're so right.
But you know what? You said something at the very beginning. Like, regardless of how much we love our families, a lot of times there were things where we had to be independent early. Yeah. And learn how to take care of ourselves. And that carries on into how we like treat our businesses. Like, we're not used to asking for help.
Yep. And that was one of my things. Because I didn't know, the whole thing of like being judged. Being worried about being judged. But I needed to ask those questions instead of me sitting there and like stressing myself out, overwhelming myself. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And you're right. Like I had to learn to do things on my own. And I know that it came from, a big part of it came from that. So I'm happy I'm starting to come out of that.
Okay. I like it. Yeah. Okay. I'm curious. Give me like 2 more lessons you've learned along the way. So, not doing everything yourself, being willing to ask for help, the power of outsourcing. I'm going to combine that for like number 1.
Okay.
So what's number 2?
Number 2, imposter syndrome.
That phrase.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome. When I was in the Air Force, so I had a good amount of knowledge about the body already. I was a medic the whole time. The full 15 years I was a medic. Wow. But it is, what I did there is different from what I do now. Yeah. But I, had an idea. But even like with that, I just felt like a fake for so many years. Really? Even though I was helping people, I was seeing changes. They were happy. They were referring people. And still, because I was comparing myself to people who've been in the industry longer than me. Yeah. And I felt like, I'm at this. So I started business, I was 37. So I'm like, I started late. So I'm feeling like I had to catch up. The things I know or what I'm learning, it's not good enough. So it was just getting over that imposter syndrome and, believing that I do know what I know. Right. And I am very passionate about helping people and looking back at how, my old clients, I still have good relationships with them. Sometimes we go to dinner, we have lunch. So all of that, if I didn't, I wouldn't have all, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So it's looking at the receipts, right? In a sense, like they're looking at the receipts of like, this is all the stuff achieved. But also what you were saying earlier of the affirmations, I'm sure impacts that of just like having to remind yourself of who you are.
I am great. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah. You know what I mean? I have the knowledge. I'm not like faking it or nothing like that. So imposter syndrome is was pretty huge.
You know, it's so interesting because I have not heard anybody who was not a woman of color bring up imposter syndrome in any of the conversations I've had on this topic. And I think it's not surprising, but it's fascinating because I'm always wondering, like, well, are they going to bring it up? Would they bring it up? So it's curious to me if it's cultural in terms of like what it's rooted in, because obviously there's a relationship I'll say a relationship to oppression and how we like experience it, and then thinking that sometimes it's a question of are we good enough, and sometimes it's not even believing, you know, how great we are. And there's that quote, I can't think of who said it, but that quote of like our biggest fear is not that we're inadequate, but our biggest
Marianne,
Williamson? Is that
I think so.
okay.
Yeah, I think
right?
so. I think so.
Of how great we are, essentially, though. Like, we're afraid of being great sometimes. And I don't understand it. I've experienced it, but I don't understand where it comes from exactly. I really don't.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it. I believe it comes from the root of things.
Yeah.
Like how I mentioned, you know, coming up, abandonment was my biggest thing, which led to everything that happened growing up. Well, because I felt abandoned, I would do things to people please. I didn't have, you know,
that one.
And then like with that too, you lose you don't create an identity.
True.
So you're kind of like trying to build this fake person, you know, and people can sense that. And when they don't appreciate, or you think they don't appreciate, you put all that effort, you feel like you're not good enough.
True.
You don't get the attention that you need. You feel like you're not good enough. Of course, the things that, you know, they say to you that create those beliefs and values, I feel like a lot of that comes from that too.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. It's almost like the feeling that you have to earn it.
Yeah.
And then if you are now defining that success level for yourself, then
it's like, what is it?
What is it? Am I doing it? Am I earning it? Am I there yet? Like, it's all those questions because nobody else is defining it for us anymore.
And then like, like for me, because I always looked out for like this outside validation. I always felt like I wasn't enough because I didn't validate myself. I thought I was like, I had no self-worth. I thought I was just like nothing. So if I wasn't getting that validation from anyone who I was seeking it from, it just, I mean, I would like plummet. You know?
Yeah. Now, do you do therapy?
I do.
Okay. I'm curious of like what the layer of like doing therapy has provided for you in your healing journey, because it has been transformational for me when I found the right therapist.
Yes.
But I hear a lot of like the language that you're using. I didn't have some of this language until I was in therapy. And then I was like, oh, we're going to talk about inner child right now. But it makes sense now. And then when other people bring it up, I'm like, I get it. Absolutely.
It does. It's real. And it doesn't seem like at first. So my therapist, you know, shout out Christian Ozubi. I've been with her for about a year, and she is the person who introduced me to the inner child and helped me start reparenting myself. Because you have that critical parent, the one that tells us all those things we've been talking about. You got to reparent yourself as the loving parent, and then you reconnect with that inner child. And she is the one who's like brought me like through this process. My 1 year anniversary with her is May 27th. Ooh. We keep talking about it because she's like, because we talk on Zoom. So she's like, okay, we're going to meet in person. We're going to have dinner. And I'm like, we're going to do it.
Let's do it. Oh my gosh. So all of my sessions are on Zoom too. And I met my therapist in person for the first time this past year, but I didn't know I was going to. It was at a yoga class.
For real? Oh,
cool. Class. Because another one of my mentors in the yoga world is like her best friend. And so we were both supporting her event, and it was just like when I saw her, I was like, is this real? Like I've been working with her for, I think 3 years now. And I'm like, I've never met you in person. You're taller than I thought. It's just like all these like exciting things. And for me, especially like, I had a couple therapists before her that I just, you know, I didn't stick with them because it was just like not clicking, but I still felt like I really heard and knew that therapy could be powerful. And when I found her, it was literally like a dream come true. Like a Black woman who just gets it, that I don't feel like I got a code switch in the middle of things. And she could read through my nervous laughter. Like she always calls me out like, okay, you're laughing, but internally, does that mean cry? And I'm like, yeah, it does.
Yep.
And I didn't realize it was something I did. I did not realize. She was like, you have a pattern of laughing through your pain. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And it was literal, because I remember in the physical sense, like being an athlete in high school and things like that on the track team, like anytime I was in pain, I would laugh.
You'd laugh it off.
And nobody would take me seriously. Like when I tore my ACL, I had 2 ACL reconstructions. The second time I learned, but the first time, it had been years, essentially. They told me once they actually got the MRI on my knee that my ACL was probably torn for like 5 to 8 years, and that I was just still using all the other muscles around to compensate type thing. And they were like, how have you been doing this for 5 to 8 years? And I'm like, every time I've complained of any pain, they just say it's growing pains or it's a sprain or, just rest it for a couple weeks, you'll be fine. For years, since high school. Like, so I originally injured it sometime in high school, and it wasn't until college.
Time.
Yeah, 5 to 8 years later.
Yeah.
And I realized now that it was because I had a way of always laughing through pain, or people wouldn't take me seriously because I'm not bawling, crying. Like, I trained myself to be like, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And just like I did in the physical way, I was doing it in the emotional and mental way too. And over the years, any trauma I was experiencing, it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Right?
I was like, you can only do so much of that until you have the right loving person to call you out on it.
Yeah.
And see you.
Yeah.
And really see you. And that was powerful for me when my therapist really saw me in my pain and was like, I hear you laughing, but behind that smile, there's something else.
Yeah.
And I could see it. And nobody had ever seen it before. So I was like, I'm seen.
That was the same with Christian too. She helped me put words to my emotions. Because usually, before people say things, it's like, I don't know. Why you react that way? I don't know.
Yeah.
So she helped me put words to my emotions and helped me understand why I reacted to a lot of things and my patterns.
Yeah. I love that. Oh, okay. All the heavy stuff, but it's real. It's real.
It is.
Because it impacts our business too. Like, we can talk business all day, but there's so much personal transformation that has to happen in order for you to successfully run a business. And that's what I'm hearing in every episode that we do of the podcast. Somebody has a different story, but there's always some layer of trauma and obstacles and overcoming it to become this next level version of, I won't just say of who you are, but of who you want to be, who you're becoming, right?
Yeah.
Like, Michelle Obama's word of becoming. Like, you got to think about who you're becoming and always be acting in that manner. Is there a number 3 business lesson?
Number 3, I want to say educate yourself. Learn. And I'll say one of my first experiences was my first website.
Oh gosh, websites.
I didn't know I was overcharged and the work was very mediocre. So I took upon it to learn myself. And when I learned it, it was like, I could probably pay like $150 for this. So I think just like educate yourself as far as like just knowing the lingo of things so that when you hire people or you outsource, you know what they're talking about. They're not trying to scheme you. Learn the business side. Learn like entities. Know your books. Know your numbers.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't just like.
Is huge.
Yeah, because for I think the first couple of years, I just kind of like. I guess I'll say passive about it. I was just like, oh, well, okay, I got paid.
Are we
cool.
making it?
Yeah.
Are we making it? All right.
Yeah. Oh, I can pay my bills this month. All right, cool. And I just left it at that. And then just one year, I was like, you know what? I need a scale. I know I need to do this. That's when I decided to do my own books. I learned the software, the P&Ls, the cash flows, and all of that. And it's really changed things.
Just being, and I think that was, I like that you're saying this, and there was a challenge in that for me, because I felt the same way about educating yourself, but I took it too extreme. I tried to learn everything instead of just learning enough to communicate to the person that I'm outsourcing or hiring to help me do it.
Yep.
And I was like, I got burnt out. Like, I really did. Like, I built my whole website by myself because I was like, learn it. And people now will ask me like, so can you teach me how to do it? And I was like, no, because I don't remember it. Like, I literally put all my heart and soul into it for like a month. And then next thing, books. Like, let me learn the numbers and accounting and softwares. And, you know, I would go through these phases of like, each month almost had this like specific project I was trying to tackle. And I would learn everything I could. We just talked about this before the podcast even started, of like audio. I know video editing and audio editing. I know enough to do little things, to do some of my own edits for social media. Obviously, when I was more regularly teaching dance and choreographing and things, have to cut music for competitions, blah, blah. So like basic level, cool. But I took a whole semester class on audio engineering, whole semester class after that on stage production. Do I remember any of that?
No, right.
And it frustrates me because I wish I could like just keep all of these things, retain all the information. But at the end of the day, it's about retaining enough to communicate with people. And that I do way better at now, but I didn't learn it quick enough. I just kept burning myself out trying to learn everything I could. And I like learning, so it's not bad, but it's like, okay, Lola, you got to chill sometimes. It's not for you. Not everything is for you. And you waste your energy and I'll say mental capacity too, if you're like trying to do everything besides that thing that you are really best at.
It does, and it does take you away from the core things that you need to do as a business owner. I did the same thing that you're doing when I first started.
I'm still learning. And sometimes it's like I know better, but I'm not doing better yet. But let me get there.
You're like,
I need to hear it 5 times, and then we'll go. And we'll figure it out. But these are really good reminders, and I appreciate these lessons because it's important for us to hear it in different ways and in different applications too. So no matter what business it is, like we've talked to folks who have what's it called, network marketing businesses. We've talked to folks who are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs with like 5 businesses, and then people who are not even in the entrepreneurship route, but just like business leaders who are part of an organization. And these lessons, at least similar ones, keep coming up in terms of not doing everything yourself, making sure there's this like knowledge, education, awareness piece of the work you're doing, and finding your own way to stand out, which would be my next question. There's a lot of personal trainers out there. What makes you different, and in what ways do you make sure that you stand out?
I want to say how we make being different is, so one thing I want to do is I want to change it to where people want to do fitness and all they think about is body image. Like I know it doesn't sound appealing, but like the sub-product is the body image change. You know what I mean? Is that sub-product, because if you take it a day at a time and you're making these changes, it's going to happen. So truly using fitness as a vehicle to help improving other aspects of your life, like that's what I want to do different. That is what I am doing different. You know, and that's the message I want to get out there.
That's powerful. And I know you said your focus is on busy professionals for the most part, right? So what are some of those things that you've helped people to do? Like if you have a client that you could give us an example potentially of how they went from this busy professional life of like not having any time for their own wellness to making time for it. What does that journey look like for others?
So actually it's like I'll say a good handful of my clients, as they come in and they tackle each task one at a time, and then they see how they're improving, right, with their movement, or even just being able to put something on the shelf without having shoulder pain, you know, they build that confidence they build there, they take that into whatever they need to tackle into that next goal. When we talk about rest and recovery, they take those lessons and then take time for themselves. They start setting like these times to cut it off for the day. So it's kind of cool, like seeing how they're taking those lessons and then putting it into their lives.
Do you ever have folks who get started with you, are doing well, but give up really quick?
I do, yeah.
Okay, how do you handle that? I need to know.
I honestly, I kind of just give them a small push. We'll sit down and talk about what are the things that we can do to get them to like even to just say to work out on their own. So a big thing I'll tell them, schedule it like it's a doctor's appointment, like it's a dentist appointment. Because if you have those appointments, you're gonna move your entire schedule around for that. You know, we try to dig into their why. Yeah. Because your why is what's gonna keep you going, even though it's a good day, it's a bad day. Why? And a lot of clients I have that just come in because they want to lose weight, they're the ones. And then when we find their why, sometimes they don't come back. They haven't found their why, and then when the ones that do find their why, then we keep going. We take the steps. We go where they're at, and we take the step that's going to be, I want to say, easier for them to tackle. Yeah. Okay. So digging into their why.
So why prioritizing actually treating that appointment as a priority as you would something else for your health? Because it is for your health at the end of the day. And, you know, there's this piece in it that I'm hearing that was hard for me, I think. And it's when you see people give up in some way on themselves, like realizing that it's not always your role to take them to that next level. They got to find it for themselves.
Yeah, there's... if it's outside of my scope of practice, I would recommend, say if they need therapy or something like that. Especially with certain nutritionists that I've met who know how to manage or talk them through the emotional piece of nutrition. Okay. Layers.
Nutrition. Emotional eating is real, though.
It is. It really is. It is. It's numbing things out.
Still a struggle. Still a struggle. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong or if there's another perspective on this, but I definitely feel like emotional eating is in its own way an addiction. And a lot of times I'll see people replace it with other addictions in their life. Or the opposite, if addicted to something worse for the body,
they'll pick that up.
Yes. Yeah. Picking up emotional eating.
Yeah, because that's what they have. What's it called? OA?
Yeah.
Overeating Anonymous, I think.
Something like that. Overeating Anonymous. And for me, when I was experiencing an eating disorder, and I know they say kind of, I think the phrasing of it, the terminology you're supposed to say is you never really get over an eating disorder. You're just not active in it, that type of thing. Kind of with the same idea of addicts, right? You're always an addict, but you're not you're sober right now, or you're not actively an addict in some sense. So I guess if that is the right language, I haven't acted on an eating disorder since high school. Okay. Great. Yeah. But in high school for a period of time, I was bulimic, and a lot of it connected to body image, but also connected to emotional eating. It very much was emotional. And breaking that was so hard.
I can't even imagine. Oh my
gosh. So hard.
Yeah.
And I'm in college especially, I was so tempted being in the dance program. And like I said, people straight up to my face, my professors were telling me, your body isn't the right size, you need to lose weight. And I'm I'm the fittest I've ever been in my life.
And they're still telling you that.
Yeah. So, it's, I don't know if, because obviously we've had our personal experiences, but do you feel like clients will come to you with some of these experiences? And I know you're talking about fitness more as a route, as a tool, but also with this mental piece of that emotional eating or eating disorders. Do you work with clients who are experiencing that?
I do have clients that experience that or have, but I outsource that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do nutrition to I know basic I'll guide them in basic stuff, but when it comes to the deep emotional parts of it, I'll refer them out. Okay. Yeah.
And is that referring out typically for nutritionists, for therapy? What does that look like?
Either nutrition, therapy, or both.
Both. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
You gotta put in the work. Gotta put in the work. Oh, but I like it. Okay, so when we're thinking about transformation, lasting change, these connections between healing into how we live our lives, but into how we run our businesses too, I want to finish it with a couple last questions. Yeah. One being, now going back to the start of our interview, You kind of introduced a little bit about what brought you into this, even from childhood. So what would you say now, as the Joanne you are, to childhood Joanne?
I think I would tell childhood Joanne that it's okay. It's okay to not know things. It's okay to mess up. You know, it's okay. Like, you don't have to be perfect. A lot of things that I didn't accomplish or like didn't do, like coming up with perfectionism. Yeah. So but it's okay. It's okay. Just keep moving forward and keep doing it. Learn from those lessons. It's okay to fail because it's not a failure. It's a lesson. So I would tell myself it's okay. Yeah.
Ugh, things we wish we heard.
I know.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Okay, and with that, reflecting forward, what do you want to tell future Joanne? What are your hopes for future Joanne?
For future Joanne?
Let's say 5 years.
I've never been asked this
5 year future Joanne.
Yeah.
What do you hope for her?
You know, I heard before, you measure your success by how many people you bless. So I hope future Joanne blesses as many people as she can with her story, her journey. I start my journey, hopefully, people who maybe have experienced the same life I did growing up, look like me, you know, they can see that they can do it too. So.
I love that.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Well, I got a lot to think about now. But I love that we were able to connect today. Not just the business pieces, but we're able to talk about the real healing journey that's happening behind fitness, behind business, and just behind being women of color in our society today. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your transparency. For anyone watching or listening, how can they connect with you if they want to hear more? Ooh, actually, I have one more question.
Yeah, sure. Okay, good.
Because I had it on my list.
Did you?
My list of like, what question do I really want to ask? And I think this is a good way to finish it. Okay. Why Infalible Fit?
Okay.
Why is it called that?
All right. So, Infallible was my MC name. So before fitness, I was in the entertainment music industry. Okay. Like when I was in the military, my goal was to get out and start a record label. Like music was the thing, which is why I went to school.
Audio engineer.
Yep, I became an audio engineer. So Infallible, my friend gave me that name because he was like, "You're such a perfectionist." And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to be tied to that. So I spelt it differently. Yeah. Because I'm not perfect, but I'll do everything to the best of my ability. So
intentionally misspelled.
Misspelled it. Okay. Yep. And I lived by that since. I've had that name for 20 years. And I lived by it since. So actually, my first name of the fitness business was JC Fitness. Yeah, it was JC Fitness. Yep. Just I wanted to get in business real quick. My initials, JC Fitness. But with Infallible Fit, with the meaning behind it, it's just letting us know that, you know, we're not perfect. Do everything to the best of our ability. You don't have to like be all perfectly and like fit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Accept yourself for who you are. Be authentic. You know, what's that term? Perfectly imperfect.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say.
That's what you were thinking?
Perfectly imperfect.
Yeah, so that's Infallible Fit.
Okay. Well, now I gave the hint because this is what reminded me. But where can we connect with you? Where can folks connect with you on social media if they want to connect back?
So Instagram, it's Infallible Fit, INFALIBLE Fit. And then that's the same for Facebook. And then my website, www.infalliblefit.com.
Perfect. And now you will remember that it's misspelled on purpose.
Yes.
So go find Joanne, go support her work with Infallible Fit, and hopefully you'll find us around the Bay Area too. So if you see us, say hi. But that's it for today. You feel good?
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
That's a wrap, y'all.
Go.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yo. Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to the Here to Uplift podcast. New episodes are airing every week with some bonus episodes in between too. So make sure you stay tuned by subscribing, following, liking, and engaging with us to let us know what topics you're most interested in and what might inspire you along this journey. We're going to keep working hard on our end because we are here to uplift not only ourselves, but our community too, and that includes you. So I can't wait for you to hear the next episode. But for now, do your thing. Let's get it and let's keep moving forward. Uplift yourself, friends. You got this.